was not enough, as was the story of the long and bitterly defended fort at Skardu. While the newfound capability of airlifting Indian troops anywhere, anytime and anyhow was capturing the nation's imagination, 3 of our fighter squadrons, flying Harvards, Spitfires and Tempests, fought along with our ground troops, relentlessly pushing the raiders back off Indian soil. After the ceasefire, the need to expand the Air Force of independent India was recognized by the government, at first to 10 and thereafter a proposed 20 squadrons.
Here we were at the Air Force Flying College, living out a dream every waking hour. All we had to do was to fly, fly and fly, getting the feel of the Tiger Moths and Harvards on which most of our generation was trained, before moving on for advanced jet training on Vampires to Harkington.
India became a republic in 1950 and the Air Force dropped the prefix Royal. The years that followed were to see changes on virtually all fronts. The piston-powered Air Force of yesteryear was to make way for another generation of aircraft and flyers on whose wings and shoulders would rest the mantle of the now maturing Indian Air Force. And the man who was to lead them, Subrata Mukherjee, who in 1954 became the first Indian Chief of Air Staff.
Mr. Vice, the President.
Gentlemen, the President.
The President. Gentlemen, some of us around this table today will recall the long battles fought, striving to make a success of the Indian Air Force at its birth. The Indian Air Force is what it is today, mainly because of one thing: the imagination, the courage, the loyalty, and the quality of its officers and its men. I am proud to be associated with this great fighting force, for they are truly the salt of the earth.
The spirit of innovation came to the fore. Group Captain Harjinder Singh's salvage operation of the B-24 Liberator, dumped by the US Air Force, gave the Air Force its first bomber squadron. Towards the beginning of the 60s, our frontline squadrons had increased in number to double the IAF's strength since independence. Besides the Hunters and the Vampires, we had the Canberra bombers. For the Indian Air Force and its boys in blue, growing steadily in confidence by the day, this was to be a period of tremendous change.
Have you seen this? What is it? The parade tomorrow. All the commands have to be given in Hindi only.
And you, Jackie, are the parade commander.
Parade! Parade! Good the good karega! Chal! Shivan!
I forgot, sir.
Carry on.
With the rapid developments in Tibet, the American Fairchild Packet C-119 aircraft joined the IAF fleet. And in 1962, Squadron Leader C.S. Rajay landed at Daulat Beg Oldie, which, at 17,400 feet, is the highest landing strip in the world. Chinese presence along our northern borders necessitated a reaction from India, and once again, the IAF transport fleet, now equipped with the powerful AN-12s, was to pick up the baton.
Right, navigator co-pilot, how much time to go for Daulat Beg Oldie?
Approaching DBO, sir. Okay, prepare for drop.
Open cargo doors.
Opening doors, sir. Ayo, sir, Captain Gunner. They are firing at us. Starboard wing is hit.
Engineer co-pilot, number 3 engine JPT going up.
Captain, engineer number 3 engine JPT increasing. Advise to feather.
Feather number 3.
Feathering number 3 engine.
Squad leader Chandan Singh's flight in an AN-12 over Daulat Beg Oldie marked the beginning of the war for the IAF.
Captain, sir. Looks like LMG fires. Quite a bit of it. Good shot. Good landing.
The fighting with the Chinese erupted on the Nifa front at Namka Chu and at Chipchap east of Daulat Beg Oldie on October the 20th, 1962. The IAF was used extensively in a supportive role. As the tempo of activity increased, the number of sorties flown by our transport aircraft assumed mammoth proportions. Often, aircraft which dropped supplies over Ladakh in the morning would find itself taking off from Tezpur with similar loads for our troops deployed in Nifa. While in the fighter squadrons, the pilots trained and trained to hone their skills, in the frustrating days that followed, the story was the same. Load rockets and bombs, stand by. Unload rockets and bombs, stand down. In this situation, the relatively new helicopter units had a major role to play. Number 110HU was diverted to Tezpur from Chandigarh, and the helicopter pilots Johnson Berry, KL Narayanan, SK Majumdar, VK Saigal, MS Kapoor, AS William, Adlakha, Rajgopal, BS Jaswal, and Neil Todd were to become familiar names for the beleaguered detachments at Tawang, Dhola, Tezu, and the Walong sector.
How can a man die better than facing fearful hordes for the ashes of his fathers and the temples of his gods?
General Ayub Khan's diversionary tactics in the run of Kutch were meant to be a smoke screen for Operation Grand Slam. The operation was launched on 5th August. The infiltrators crossed the ceasefire line at well-chosen points and reached deep inside Kashmir before they were detected. To counter the threat, a helicopter task force consisting of first 2, then 3 squadrons was used extensively, which had a great demoralizing effect on the raiders. Hajipir, Gurez, Badgam, Mandi, Tangdar and Budil were bombed and strafed by these helicopter units. And the fighting gradually escalated all along the J&K border with open clashes at Kargil, Titwal, Uri and Punch. The Pakistan Air Force came forward with Sabre jets and a few Lockheed starfighters, the supersonic F-104, in support of the Pak Army. These aircraft had a formidable reputation after the Korean War, and about 24 F-86 Sabre jets plus starfighters were armed with heat-seeking air-to-air Sidewinder missiles. At 1600 hours on 1st September, the Defense Minister called up Air Marshal Arjun Singh and asked for air support to stem the massive Pakistani thrust into Cham Jaurian. By 1719 hours, 12 Vampires from 45 Squadron and Misters from number 3 and 31 Squadrons were attacking the enemy forces in support of our ground troops. 3rd September, 23 Squadron. It is the Nat versus the Sabre. Squadron leader Trevor Keeler, on an offensive sweep, shoots down the first Sabre jet and is soon followed by Flight Lieutenant B.S. Pathania and squadron leader AJS Sandhu, who bring down 2 more Sabres while escorting misters. Already by 4th September, the Nat is emerging as the little hero of the sky. On the 6th afternoon, the PAF launches attacks on Adampur, Halwara and Pathankot air bases, where they are successfully intercepted by hunters based at Halwara. Flight Lieutenant D.N. Rathore and Flying Officer Ned of number 27 Squadron and Flying Officers Gandhi and Pingle of number 7 Squadron, between them shoot down another 3 Sabres. Despite Pakistan's comparatively advanced radar systems, the IAF Mister and Canberra pilots were successfully hitting Pakistani forces where it hurt most, by attacking their lines of communication and supplies, by blowing up convoys and trains. Having plunged into a war by attacking Kashmir, Pakistan found itself in a fast deteriorating situation.
Look out port, 10 miles.
I'm looking. Charlie, I got him.
Gentlemen, before we get on with the operational briefing today, there is something I want you all to hear. This is a letter which I received from Bombay yesterday. My dear Air Marshal Arjun Singh, I am studying in class 3. I am 9 years old.